Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show where I'm constantly finding out about how technologies develop. If you can believe it, I don't actually script these openings. Maybe I should let a machine do it. And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with my slightly less enthusiastic on the moon, because I've noticed that every time that I do my on the moon, it peaks out and cuts out because my mic, it didn't used to. I mentioned this on the monkey stream last night, and I tried to correct for it, but I can't correct for it somehow. In the olden days, I could go all the way up to the highest register in my screaming on the moon, and it would be caught on my microphone. Now, if I go too high, it's cut off. So I have to bring it down just a smidge. Hopefully that one came through. You'll have to let me know in the chat. But yes, welcome again to Thursday, Terrifying Thursday. Yes, we return once again to the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks for education and enlightenment. And today, we're going to find out about empathy as technology. Now, you may ask yourself, as I ask myself, why? Why this one? Well, there are three factors. First off, as always, the title. All by itself, I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Second thing was, I have to say, the thumbnail and the appearance of our speaker caused me all sorts of curiosity. But the third thing is a little bit more abstract, maybe. I didn't read the description of this video. However, in the course of looking at the video or just, pulling it up, I did happen to glance at the description, and a particular phrase jumped out at me. And it's been about a day and a half, so maybe I misread. Maybe I'm misremembering. But the phrase that I saw in the description was something to the effect of innovative teams. And unfortunately, I've been conditioned by DEI to see the phrase innovative teams as implying DEI, because I'm always told that DEI creates more innovative teams, as you may have noticed if you're a veteran of this channel. And so I don't know if DEI or diversity, etc., is part and parcel with this presentation. I'm just making an assumption. But those three factors all put together caused me to say, I'm too curious not to want to know now. What is empathy as technology? And what, if anything, does that have to do with making innovative teams? So that's why we're here. Or I should say, that's why I'm here. You're here. Sometimes I don't know. I think we're all kind of masochists in a way. Anyway, who's the masochist that's joining me this evening? Y'all masochists. Kiever Dam, good evening. And thank you, Kiever Dam, as always, for providing the links to the fundraisers and GoFundMes for our friends AJ, Roan Harushan, Natalie, and Angela Ariaga. Guys, please take a look at those when you have the opportunity. And if you can donate, please do so. And even if you can't, if you can share those out on social media, that'd be very much appreciated. Every little bit helps. And thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Kiever Dam, for giving those links out, as you always do, so efficiently and dependently, with dependence. Something. I don't know. My vocabulary went by the wayside today. It's been a hot day. I had to do a lot of walk. I had to walk 2 miles to go get a haircut. Just the one. Or I got my ears lowered, as my grandfather used to say. Noah Asensio. Good evening. Tier Alexander. Good evening. Derek LaRue. Good evening to you. And thank you so much, Derek. Holy cow. It's very generous of you. Thank you so much, as always, for your support. Hope you're having a good evening, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks again. Mike R. Good evening to you. Who else is here? Advocatus Diaboli. Good evening. Kiro Soldier. Good evening. Shell D. Good evening. Who else is here? John Trioxin. Good evening to you. Scrolling. The Best Remy, good evening. Attack Alpaca, good evening. Angelverse, good evening to you. Keldrig, good evening. And Jamie Milquist, good evening to you. And Urkele DeStefano, good evening. Zan Wild, good evening. And Alan Thyler. Thank you so much, Alan Thyler, for the #1 Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowie fucking wow.
Oh, there's a Satsu 2 cents Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate it. And hope you're having a good day and hope you enjoy the show. And I think that's everybody. If I missed anybody, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good evening. And if I see you later on, I hope to say hello Elsewise. But elsewise, from Elsewise, we have a show. And this one goes a little long, as she said, just under 15 minutes. So let's get started. Tonight's bingo card is bingo card B. B as in Johnny 5, who was the winner of the Friendly AI poll on the Twitters. If you'd like to take part in the weekly poll that decides which bingo card we're going to be using, follow me on X, Twitter, whatever, at scribe_light. And as noted last week, this week premieres the revised version of the bingo cards, wherein we have consolidated 2 squares and started a new one. The 2 squares consolidated were weightless example and argumentative non sequitur. There was just too much crossover overlap in those 2 concepts, so I just smushed them all together into one, and now it's just weightless example / non sequitur. And the new square, as suggested by Mr. E on the Discord server, is deceptive statistics. Deceptive statistics. So, first and foremost, a speaker in a presentation must use statistics as part of their argument, their presentation, whatever. But the big question will be whether or not this use of statistics is deceptive. That's going to be the point of contention, I'm sure, over time. Now, does deceptive mean a God of the gaps theory of statistical analysis? Does it mean they say the statistics say one thing, but it doesn't mean that? It's all going to be up in the air. There is a risk. There is a risk of an overlap between deceptive statistics and leaves out vital context. This was sort of, gamed out beforehand, but the square is unique enough that we're going to give it a shot for a while and see how it does. If we continue falling into conflicts with deceptive statistics and leaves out vital context, we will seek a revision in the future. But that's what we're going with. Remember, bingo card B, Daryl Odell. Good evening. I didn't miss you, but you're not here. Okay, sorry. My apologies. All right, so it's up to us. All the change we want to see personally, globally, and right here in TEDx Victoria, empathy as technology. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
How many times in the day when browsing online, you're annoyed at that window that pops up? And
that window that pops up? I don't know. A lot of windows pop up when I'm browsing online. Hopefully it's not like an ad or a kind of spam thing or an alert telling me that my computer's been infected with some kind of virus. I don't know. Mike R says, sounds good. And, if Mike R says it sounds good, that's all I need to know. That window that pops up with, let's back up a little bit.
That pops up and asks you to confirm your privacy preferences.
Confirm my privacy preferences. I guess I see those occasionally. Sure. I always find pop-ups annoying in the first place because they're not what I was looking for usually. It's some intrusion.
And you can't remember which websites are to be trusted.
I don't trust any of them.
Which cookies are necessary.
I don't think any cookies are necessary because they just get refreshed the next time you get to the website. So.
And if you're asking my daughter, she would go eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the choice of the day.
You need to teach your daughter some better online discretion. That was really a punchline? Okay.
Or you're booking a flight online and you'd like to talk to an agent. And you go to the little chatbot just to be frustrated.
Yeah, well, yes. I don't know if you know this, but not being able to talk to a human through communications and being sent to like a phone tree or something is nothing new. But yes, it is frustrating.
The impersonal programmed options you're provided with.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is technology designers don't always understand what you're trying to do or your needs at the moment.
That's because they have to cast the widest net possible for whatever issues a customer might encounter, because they're not mind readers. So that's why. I mean, they're trying to make things more efficient by trying to categorize or having people categorize themselves, sort of like self-checkout at the grocery store, right? You can handle your own few items without having to clog up one of the actual workers. And yeah, I mean, I understand the concept. It is frustrating, but I understand the utility.
I'm here today to speak about empathy.
Oh, good. Now, I always love people that come out and start off a presentation by saying, I'm here to speak about empathy. Because what does that do? That puts you as the listener into a place. And what place is that? That's the place where now you are being challenged to disagree with the speaker at the peril of not being an empathetic person. Right? Now, I don't know where she's going to go with this empathy thing, but I always get very wary when somebody starts out, before they've said anything else, before they've given us any elements of their argument or whatever else, that they're already placing themselves on a pedestal of one of the foundationary elements of human compassion. Right? Like anything they're going to say after this flows from empathy. And you wouldn't want to be an unempathetic person by doubting or disagreeing, would you? Like I say, I don't know where she's going, but that is always a red flag for me. That's an immediate red flag.
And the relationship to technology design.
Empathy and the relationship to technology design. Okay, so someone trying to impart feeling, again, I put this in kind of the promos for the show because I wasn't sure, but imparting feelings into machines.
Why does it matter?
I'm guessing interface relatability, something like that, where the customer can sense that there's something beyond just a machine behind. They can be fooled into thinking that they're not just talking to a machine, right?
Empathy, that incredibly unique human element that we have to hang on to in the age of AI, when technologies are driving our lives and everything seems to be generated for us.
Yeah, it really is setting us all up for a fall if suddenly the power went out, doesn't it?
It matters because the main users of technologies are people.
Yes. Well, yeah, I guess the main users of technology are people. Obviously, there are some animals that use primitive versions of technology, but okay, yeah,
And people design technologies.
Yes. Okay.
When we get empathy right, great innovation can happen.
Okay, like?
The typewriter.
The typewriter. If we get empathy right, the typewriter. Are you talking about like ergonomics, like ease of use, or the iterations that went through to become a useful tool to people? That you talking about empathy or just like customer feedback?
The typewriter, arguably one of the first assistive technologies.
One of the first, the first assistive technologies. How about, I don't know, the hammer, fire, bow and arrow, hunting knife.
One of the inventors, the Italian Pellegrino Turi, designed it to help his blind friend write letters to him.
Okay. I'll admit, I did not know that. Is that true? Okay.
And unlocked our ability to communicate at scale.
Okay.
When designing with empathy, we understand the users of our technologies better, the world they live in, and the role and impact of technology within it.
See, I thought the typewriter was just a sort of natural evolution from the printing press. But, okay, maybe... Okay, all right. All right.
Now let's try again.
Okay.
How would you design technologies to help individuals at the risk of homelessness?
Well, there's things called houses. I don't know. At the risk of homelessness, 4 walls and a ceiling. What? Okay. What are you recommending to solve homelessness?
Where would you even begin?
Okay, well, I'd have to wonder, why is this person homeless? And how would technology solve for homelessness? I don't know. Tell me.
In this case, an elderly man.
Yeah.
We don't know if they have prescription glasses.
You're right. I don't know if he has prescription glasses.
Likely not.
Okay.
Have trembling hands.
Uh-huh.
Technology designers, however, have challenges realizing this.
Wait, okay. Wait a second. Okay. Homelessness, poor eyesight, and trembling hands. These are three completely separate things. Why did you group them together like that?
They're mostly highly educated, talented individuals working in a computer lab or nowadays in a coffee shop. We teach them to use logic and that there must be an algorithm as a solution to everything.
Yes, I'm sure sane people really think that way. I'm sure sane, functioning people really think that there's an algorithm to solve everything. I don't know what our speaker's career is. I mean, I've known some computer programmers in my day. I work with computer programmers on a regular basis. And yeah, sometimes they can get kind of tunnel vision on a project and they can see things more, they don't see the forest for the trees kind of deal sometimes, because they're focused on the very tiny little cogs, and sometimes the big picture eludes or the potential implications of what they're doing or could be doing, etc. Okay, I get that. But okay, so are you saying that there is an algorithm to solve homelessness? Or are you complaining? I don't know. Let's go to the bingo card and just remind ourselves what we're listening for, because I need a little break from this for a second. Marginalization. Not yet. She just brought up homelessness, but we'll wait and see. Self-vilification or wretchedness? No. Contradicts own point or argument? Not sure what it is yet. Feminism? No. Microaggressions or unconscious bias? Maybe. Privilege? Not yet. Benevolent condescension? We'll see. Weightless example or non sequitur? I'm waiting to find out, and we have to know now, because she set it up for the square to be circled. Homelessness, poor eyesight, shaking hands. She's going to circle back to all of these. Yes. Plays victim? Not yet. Collectivizes own demographic? No. Economic disparity? Yes. I'm going to circle that one just on the basis of homelessness as a subject. Versus the computer programmers sitting in their computer labs and everything. Deceptive statistics. No statistics yet. Free space. I'll circle free space because, well, it's free. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Not yet. A list. We may get to an official list. Let's wait and see. Mind reading or assumes motives. Yeah, with the whole computer programmers think that there's an algorithm to solve everything. A little bit. Patriarchy, no. Anecdote that probably never happened, not yet. Diversity, equity, and or inclusion. I'm waiting to see if there's anything with that innovative teams thing. White supremacy, no. Childhood or family anecdote, not yet. Systemic or institutional, no. Leaves out vital context, not sure yet. Sales fit for product or service. I think that might be part and parcel with this, but we'll wait and see. And lastly, word salad. We'll probably get there. But either way, right now on the board, we have economic disparity, free space, and mind reading or assumes motives. Remember, this is bingo card B, and links are in the description.
What if we taught them to use their heart as well and try to understand the context of living they design for?
Right. Computer programmers don't have a heart. What if we taught them to use their heart as well? Computer programmers are inhuman, everyone.
At the University of Victoria, we did that.
You implanted hearts in computer programmers?
In an experiential learning program called Inspire.
Oh, Inspire.
We asked students to work in diverse teams.
Diverse teams? Uh-oh. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We asked students to work in diverse teams. Please tell us, what were the makeup of these diverse teams?
And get out in the community and tackle problems of social and environmental sustainability nature.
Okay, are you talking about computer programming students or just students? I mean, I'm assuming computer programming. So you sent students out into the wild to tackle social issues with Algorithms?
We ask them to use methods of user-centered design and try to understand the context of living they design for. They speak with the homeless, brain injury patients, school-age kids, even in far remote indigenous communities.
Okay. I mean, it could be an interesting thought experiment depending on what you came up with. All right. My mind is still open. All right, let's fingers crossed, knock Formica. Well, maybe something beneficial will come out of this, something not completely Looney Tunes. And
The results from our research
were what word will she use? Were inspiring. Were oh man, my vocabulary. What should I try? I'm trying to hit a psychic moment just for the hell of it. Were amazing. I don't know. Maybe that's just too mundane.
were striking.
Striking! Ow!
When they used empathy to connect with the users of their technologies.
Wait. What homeless person was using their what? Okay. Now, okay. You had a bunch of college students. What technologies of those students were these random people they were talking to in the community using? What technology was the homeless person? Did the students design a phone app or something?
That it was their best design tool that led to the successes of their projects.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm game. I'm always asking. I always want to know. Tell me your success story. Tell me the story of student team A went out into community and talked to the homeless people, and then they came back to the classroom and the lab and they designed something that in some way, shape, or form addressed homelessness. Tell me a success story.
Today, I define empathy as someone's ability to see with the eyes of the other.
You define empathy that way. Wow, gosh, that's a real reach for you. What successes came about from this?
Hear with the ear of the other and feel with the heart of the other.
So try walking in my shoes, as the famous poet Depeche Mode said.
I'm also here to argue that in order to innovate in a diverse society, teams not only need empathy.
They not only need empathy, they need inclusion.
But they need to be diverse.
Oh, man, I had 3 options and I picked the wrong one. They need to be diverse. All right, well, define diverse for me. You see, I wasn't even looking for a diversity video this week. I really wasn't.
That is because technologies mirror those that build them.
Technologies mirror those that build them. And so what does a diverse team mean in that regard?
It is through diversity of thought and perspectives that teams get smarter.
Okay, well, if you're talking about diversity in the realm of diverse thoughts, diverse experiences, diverse skill sets, diverse education, then maybe we're on the same page. But I have a sneaking suspicion. I have a very sneaking 8-year-long, well-honed suspicion that when you say diversity, the first checkbox is far more surface level.
They can think through issues more broadly.
Maybe.
They process information more deeply.
Maybe.
And they have a higher ability to understand the subtle, unusual circumstances of those different from them.
Why?
Because they themselves have had different experiences and perspective than the other.
Everyone has. How do you define diversity?
You may know health apps missed tracking menstrual cycles.
Health apps missed tracking menstrual cycles. Really? Or had they just not gotten there yet? But okay, I mean, if you say so.
Health apps missed tracking menstrual cycles until women got on the design teams.
Okay. Great. And you see, I've heard that before. I have no idea if that's actually true. Because I don't know the history of menstrual cycle apps. Like it never occurred to a man to create an app that tracked women's menstrual cycles prior to a woman ending up on the team. I mean, maybe that's true. I don't know if that sounds true to me. But see, now I guess the question is that an anecdote that ever really happened?
Now, that's great, but there's a paradox of diversity.
Wait. Well, then who was the innovative woman that created the menstrual tracking app? I mean, or who was the company that first made it because they put women on their teams? Why wouldn't you highlight that if you're going to bring that up? Okay, so far we've had a claim of success stories from her students roaming out into the wilderness. And we got sirens going on in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear those. Sounds like fire trucks. Big red fire truck. And people aren't moving out of the way. You don't hear those horns unless people get out of the way. So success stories we're not hearing about. Apocryphal story of menstrual cycle apps without an example. Diverse teams without definition. I'm getting ready to circle leaves out vital context.
While crucial, diversity comes with conflict and uncomfortable truths.
Oh, or even courageous conversations. Aha.
Contrasting perspectives, while necessary and healthy for innovation,
it
brings different ways of communication.
Yes. Well, it is competition and conflict that has led Western civilization and really the human race in a lot of ways to where we are now. So that's the risk you take, I suppose, when you have a team of people that have different perspectives, right? I mean, that's the desirable trait in your diverse teams.
And reacting to disagreements.
Yeah.
We shy away. Diversity is hard.
We shy away. Diversity is hard. Well, again, define diversity, and I'll tell you whether or not it's something that I can put up with.
But what if I told you that in our research, we unveiled the magic of empathy?
Guys, have you ever heard of this thing called empathy? I know, right? It's an alien concept. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. Okay, so you won't tell us what the success stories were for your students. You won't tell us how you define diverse teams. And you want us to believe that you discovered empathy. Because in the realm of technological development, empathy, or trying to solve for someone else's problem, has never occurred to anyone before. Right? I mean, gee, everybody in the cave is so cold. It's really cold in this cave. Wow, there was this really weird orange stuff outside that showed up after that, bolt from the sky, and the sky god sent down this really warm stuff. I wonder if I took this warm stuff and brought it into the cold cave, if we could stay warm. Not only the people around me, but me. Gosh, I don't know. I projected my own situation into someone else or vice versa, and then found a solution for that problem. Oh, gosh, what do you do when the horse is sick? If only we had something that didn't require a horse, that could be, mechanized. Okay. The golden rule has driven most technological development over time, right? Solving problems, either for yourself or for others. You have not discovered anything at all. This is nothing new. This is not innovative. If you think it's innovative, I don't know. I have a couple of ancient monuments to sell you.
It's dual role in technology design teams.
Wow.
When technologists use empathy to understand their users, empathy has been contagious. It came back to their teams.
Wow. How? Tell us a success story. You have several, right? You sent many students in different teams, diverse teams, out into the world, and they came back with ideas from talking to different people in different parts of the community, and then they made something to try to help them or solve for a problem. I am waiting for your success story. I assume that they are coming. Please don't make a fool out of me.
It allowed them to understand different perspectives, navigate conflicts, and
Yeah, I understand the concept of empathy. Again, foundationary to human compassion and achievement and civilization. I get it. I've gotten it since I was young. Hell, probably even sociopaths could describe the concept of empathy to somebody else. And
resolve them.
yeah,
It is that relationship I would like to unpack today.
collective empathy. Okay.
But first, you may wonder, who am I to speak about diversity?
Oh, I mean, your hair color gave it away. I hate to tell you this. It's sort of like, brightly colored animals in the wild. You know that they're broadcasting a message to those around them before you've even had a chance to get close. Yeah, in this day and age, I gotta say, the purple hair sent me a signal. It was either going to be a radical feminist or social justice warrior, or a combination thereof, because, sometimes it's part and parcel. So, yeah. And as far as like, what are the credentials necessary to fall into that category of talking about diversity? Trust me, anybody can do it and call themselves a consultant and get a pay. Well, not as easily today. Your prime time to do it was 2020 through 2022. That was the absolute apex zenith territory for profiting off of being a diversity consultant. Right after George Floyd, but before the affirmative action decision. That was the sweet spot. So anybody that was at the top of the mountain that time, that was the golden hour for diversity consulting.
I'm white.
You're white. What are you? If you say so. But race is just a social construct.
And as a university professor, some would say middle upper class and in a position of privilege.
Oh, privilege! Privilege is on the board. Circling privilege. Oh my gosh. Middle upper class, white. You're right. Who are you to be talking about diversity? In fact, I mean, save for one other element that usually goes along with this. Two, I take it back. So you have you're straight and you're male, right? I don't know your orientation. I'm not asking. Don't ask. Don't tell. But yeah, you're on the scale of maybe you shouldn't be the one on the stage talking about this, right? Because you are at least in part blind to the oppressions of the world. At least so I've been told over and over again.
And power.
Whoa. Okay. Those of you listening at home, I'm sorry you can't see this, but those of you who can see this, watch her face when she says power. That was something.
University professor, some would say middle upper class and in a position of privilege and power.
Is that looks like self-vilification. I know it's very interpretive, but it's almost like she says that with regret. I'm going to give it another minute here. Yeah, Advocatus in the chat. Yeah, he sees it too. I'm gonna give another minute to see if she says something more definitive. But that look alone, it'll if she says nothing else, it will qualify. I'm just curious to see how she follows this up.
I was born in Romania, in a country ridden by poverty.
Oh, okay. So now she's going to put the lie to the notion that she's in a position of privilege. Is she fighting back against accusations of white privilege now?
Oppression.
But you're white. None of you're still white. You still benefit from white privilege, correct?
Where challenging someone's opinion was highly discouraged. Listening to my own, extraordinary.
Yeah. An oppressive authoritarian society is bad. Isn't it?
I still remember first time that someone asked my opinion in a team environment. I was 17.
The first time someone asked your opinion in a team environment, you were 17. So in 17 years prior to that, no one ever asked your opinion in a team. That's such a bizarre qualifier. But okay, childhood or family anecdote, circling that one on the board because, well, she talked about growing up in Romania. But okay. And poverty, her own poverty and her opinion not being listened to and so on. That is to me marginalization. And strangely enough, we're only about quarter of the way through this thing. And yeah.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Our very first bingo down the B column. All right. Well, yeah, between homelessness and her societal upbringing, let's say. All right. And so the very first time you were ever asked your opinion in a team environment was when you were 17. And then?
Time that someone asked my opinion in a team environment. I was 17.
Uh-huh.
And it was on a summer camp when we had to decide how to change our schedule because of rainy weather.
The story is enthralling.
If you wonder where I am among the pioneers in my language,
I credit for self-deprecation. That's fine.
that's me, yes, without a voice. Coming to Canada, my new country, I got a voice.
Yeah, Western civilization and non-authoritarian regimes. Well, can't say as much about Canada today. Sorry to my Canadian friends. You have my sympathies.
And yet the confidence to raise it took much longer.
Well, that's a you problem.
I was fortunate to meet mentors and teachers that believed in myself.
Were any of them straight white males by any chance?
I was smart and hardworking, and yet writing that master's thesis, oh boy, required a different level of English proficiency I didn't have. I was learning the English as I was doing my research.
And all credit to you, that must have been a very difficult task.
That was not possible without my Canadian-born friends who spent many hours in the lab empathizing with my struggles and helping me improve my English.
So empathy existed in a team educational environment before you started doing your studies and sending your students out into the field. Wow. I thought that you unveiled the power of empathy in your, okay.
They empowered me to believe in myself, to believe that being different was a strength, not a weakness.
Yes. Okay. You were very lucky to have such friends. What happened to the homeless man with the bad eyesight and shaking hands?
In working with young individuals in countries around the world these days, I'm reminded of that humility.
Okay.
I know how hard it is to work in diverse teams.
You still haven't defined diversity. I'm still hoping that by diversity she means just, different individuals, which all individuals are inherently. But I got a feeling because she mentioned that she's white, who am I to talk about diversity? So it's not looking good.
You may be raising a young family, like most of us do, and yet you do it while adapting culturally to different communication and working styles.
Well, I've never raised a family, and I've had to adapt to different styles of people's work. Okay. Where are we going? I understand that maybe there's some kind of language barrier here, but you seem to be fine now. You've been in Canada many years at this point. What does any of this have to do with imbuing technology with empathy? I'm waiting for that. I'm specifically waiting for, from your work with your students, what they developed after going out and speaking to homeless people and speaking to Native American or indigenous people, pardon me, or whatever. What did they come back to the classroom with? What did they develop as a result of these field trips? You want to show us the results of imbuing technology with empathy. So give us a result.
If you're changing countries like I do,
I've never changed countries like I do. I can't exactly relate, but okay, I'm going to have to take your word for it. And
may be making elderly care arrangements from afar,
what?
fearing for the worst.
I maybe, but here's the thing, even though I've never moved countries before, I can empathize with the concept, even though I'm a straight white male. It's odd, isn't it?
We need such voices in design.
We need such voices in design. What voices? Just people from different countries who have taken care of elderly people from afar. I'm having a low boil frustration here, waiting for a point to be reached.
We need such voices in design, and I know you can do it.
What are you, a cheerleader? Am I in your class?
And yet, when someone is consistently not seen or heard, the refuge is in silence.
Okay, word salad. Word salad. I'm okay. If for nothing else, just that section, this entire thing, like just word salad. Also circling self-vilification or wretchedness for the white guilt and power, whatever regret thing, facial expression she made. And I'm getting ready to circle weightless example because I'm still waiting for the success stories. I'm still waiting to hear how a homeless man who might or might not have bad eyesight and who might or might not have shaking hands, what that has to do with anything.
For the past 20 years, I had been fascinated by the opposite of silence.
I can believe it.
The science of communication.
The science of communication. So, do you have a communications degree?
I studied many culturally diverse teams.
Uh-huh.
And the striking, consistent, overwhelming finding we had
is that we had to avoid white people like the plague.
Was that the way we communicate not only affects the way we work and the health of the team, but the results of our work.
Well, duh. All right, really? Really? Gee, guys, did you know that the effectiveness of getting a task, both stated, undertaken, and completed successfully is dependent upon effective communication? I mean,
Of course.
I'm baffled. I am baffled. I'm like a submarine. I'm just baffled. Okay, you spent 20 years figuring this out, huh?
When we do not have an understanding of the other,
yes,
we develop blind spots.
Wow.
And biases and
biases,
prejudices.
Prejudices. All right, I'm going to circle microaggressions or unconscious bias. Circling that one on the board.
Let's take a moment. I want to ask you at work, how many of you have a colleague who always says yes enthusiastically to a job, to not delivering on time?
Wait, so always says yes to, but not delivering. And I'm thinking, honestly, I'm trying to think, is there anybody in my office that I would not rely on to get their stuff done when they say that? I mean, everybody has their moments or something, but no, not in my workplace. Everybody's pretty much, they know their stuff. They know what their responsibilities were. And most of us have been there for many, many years now. So if anybody was really slacking off, my boss has cut them loose a long time ago. So I'd say, nope. Not currently. In the past, maybe, but it's been so long I couldn't give you a specific example. Anyway, sorry. So the answer is no.
And you're frustrated.
Yeah, no.
Can't see the hands up.
I have friends who have told me stories recently of similar things. So yeah, I mean, I can, even though I'm not personally experiencing it, I can empathize. I know.
Have you considered that they may come from a culture with high regard for authority?
No. I would hope they come from a culture that appreciates getting a paycheck, and if they don't do their job, they will lose it.
Or personal relationships. They may have a different perspective and yet no confidence to challenge yours.
That is a them problem that they would need to resolve, because if they're not doing their jobs when they say they're supposed to, maybe they shouldn't be working there anymore. How much specialized slack should I be giving someone who's pulling from the same pay pool?
Or prefer not to for the fear of damaging the relationship.
I don't know. I'm not their counselor. I'm their coworker.
Would you then respond differently should you know where they come from and how that affects the way they work and communicate?
Possibly. It depends on the circumstances. At the same time, I've got my own work to do, and I can't necessarily be babysitting somebody else because they have some cryptic or otherwise esoteric special needs.
That unfortunately becomes even harder as we accept to work in remote or hybrid environments.
Well, thankfully, as I said, in my case, everybody that I work with is everybody that I worked with before the remote working stuff happened. And so we all had a really good sensation of how each of us operated, how to interact with one another, each other's moods, temperaments, and so on and so forth. So yeah, every individual is different regardless of their cultural background. Do you know that there are different people in the same culture? I know, it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing that there are people that sort of behave differently, have different pet peeves, likes and dislikes, and yet they can all come from the same culture. It's odd. You almost have to look at the individual as a person and not as a representative of a culture or some kind of, weird history or something. They have a name, not a category. But I know that may be a little odd, but either way, I work with people with names.
Spending time with the other, learning about the other is much more limited. However, with empathy, we can listen better.
Did you guys know that with empathy, you can relate to somebody even if you're not in the same room with them? I know. What were the success stories of your students again? Where is the proof in the proverbial pudding here of your theory put into practice? You're 9 minutes in to a 14-minute, 39-second presentation. We have, if my math is correct, and it's not always correct, just under 5 minutes for you to finish this off. And so far, you have not given us a single active example of your theory put into practice. You've given us nothing but the most Hallmark card platitudes and surface level philosophical thinking on the concept of empathy. So I am waiting. And as Tom Petty said, the waiting is the hardest part.
Listening is seeing. Seeing those invisible differences that we have, often culturally informed.
Mm-hmm. All right, give me an example.
And we can understand each other better.
Give me even from your own personal experience. I'll take that over nothing at all. Give me an example.
I'd like to return to the experiential learning program, Inspire.
Okay, I am okay. I am glad. I am glad that after 9 minutes, we have circled around back to your Inspire thing. Okay, she brings up the home page for this thing. Inspire with a little tree above it. STEM for social impact, fostering diversity, equity, inclusion, and experiential learning in science and engineering in Canada, in Nepal. All right. Well, I have been begging for some success stories, so lay them on me.
And tell you the story of one project in particular.
Oh, thank goodness. Proceed.
to illustrate the power of empathy in diverse teams,
This better be good.
particularly the one that handled homelessness.
All right. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Maybe I can. Okay. Maybe I won't have to circle weightless example or non sequitur. Maybe I won't have to do that. But okay. Or maybe I won't have to circle. Did I already circle leaves out vital context? I haven't yet. Okay. All right. So maybe all of that will be cured. All of those squares will be prevented right now. Go ahead. I push the button.
The team worked with the Alliance to End Homelessness in
The Alliance to End Homelessness. Good luck.
capital region in the southern Vancouver Island.
Okay.
They were able to interview many individuals that experienced homelessness.
Okay, so they got, we'll say for the sake of argument, a decent sample size of their survey.
They used an exercise called Hopes and Fears, and they learned about their living experience and how technology might or might not help them.
Okay, and I'm pausing both to consider each one of these little moments, but also for YouTube's sake, so apologies. But all right, so they interviewed people. I've been through this myself. Long ago at the company I worked at, we had some consultants come in because they were going to update our entire internal back office system. And so they interviewed every single team, every single department, talked to each individual about what their workflow was, what their process was, what they used the current software for, and so on and so forth, so they could try to accommodate for that in the upcoming new back office software. Okay, yes. So you go to your customer, you ask them, what do they need to make their life easier? What do they need to help them do what they need to do, and so on and so forth? Okay, I'm sure it's a very innovative concept for you. I'm sure it never came up before and nobody ever thought of it before. It's a completely new idea. But I mean, I can empathize.
The empathy in one developer report is heartwarming.
Okay.
I had no idea what to expect going into a focus group with a bunch of people that had faced homelessness.
Okay.
I just went in with an open mind and tried to put myself in their shoes.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Empathy. Yes.
Everything they suggested completely contradicted what I had assumed.
All right. Okay. You have my curiosity. Now, seize my attention and give me an example.
They did experience a lot of conflict.
I don't care about the conflict. What were the results? What did they zero in on to try to address with technology?
Experienced a lot of conflict. They had different emotions around the complicated issue of homelessness. And yet they were able to design a solution through many pivots, from an initial design of a mobile app, pretty much useless to the homeless.
I would have thought that that'd be the first thing that would go out the window. Thinking about a mobile app. Okay. What was the intent of this mobile app before they 10 minutes, 23 seconds into 14:39. I'm waiting. I'm really waiting.
Yet they were able to design a solution through many pivots, from an initial design of a mobile app.
Okay, so that was a pivot. So they were like, oh, let's try an app. Oh, wait, homeless people probably don't have smartphones and stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that was idea number one. Genius students you've got here.
Pretty much useless to the homeless. They learned.
So wait, after talking to a bunch of homeless people, they went back to the lab, and within their iterative process, they thought of a mobile app to be used by homeless people. I'm really, really hoping that thought occurred to all of them for about a split second and then disappeared because it was so obviously a waste of time. it sounds like they spent more than a split second on that, but okay.
To one that was much more impactful to a broader community.
All right. Not a mobile app, so it was a...
They were able to build a platform that connected all the shelters in a network to provide much more effective response to accommodation requests.
Okay. All right. You know what? I'll accept that. That sounds reasonable. Okay, so you've got a glorified phone tree between homeless shelters. I mean, and no shade. Okay. I wasn't sure what to expect. Sounds all right as a concept. All right.
From a long line of people outside.
Uh-huh. All right. So like if homeless shelter A has, like you say, 20 people standing outside, they can check on this platform to see, okay, what is the current housing capacity of homeless shelter B and C and so on. And if there's room at these other things, they can send people over there and make sure that nobody's waiting too long or out in the cold or sees, okay, all right, fair enough. I'm not circling any squares yet. Okay.
I'm proud to say that now they're working to take their prototype into a solution across Canada.
Okay, you know what? Fine. Great. I would be amazingly surprised if there wasn't already something like that established beforehand. As I said, a phone tree, some kind of communication between homeless shelters beforehand. But I mean, if they were able to find a way to make a better efficiency out of it, okay. Do you have a name for this thing? I mean, we have to get at least, sales pitch for product or service in here somewhere.
To connect all shelters nationally.
Okay. I'm not quite sure how connecting a shelter on one side of the country to a shelter on the other side of the country is going to account for problems at either one of those individual shelters, but okay. I mean, I asked for an example. I got an example. Doesn't really tell me much about it, but okay, there you go.
How did they do it?
How did they do it? I think it's called a website with a form and email.
They embraced disagreements with empathy.
What does that mean?
They ended up using the same exercise, hopes and fears, within their team.
Why didn't you give us an example of the hopes and fears exercise to begin with so we'd have some idea of what you're talking about? It's a glorified phone tree or email chain. It's a Discord server. I mean, what is so amazing about this? I mean, I'm glad you gave us an example, but once again, like throughout the entirety of your talk so far, you are spewing out ideas and concepts that are not new. They are not innovative. It's nothing that no one else has ever thought of before. So I really need to know how any of this is useful, because phone trees existed before you came to America. Oh, sorry, not America, Canada. Sorry, the Western shores, or the concept thereof. Okay.
And they unpacked their goals for the project, diverging views, presumably.
Sure. Every team is going to have occasionally a little stress here and there. Big deal. How is that unique in creating a glorified phone tree? Or tell us, how did this conflict lead to something that otherwise would not exist without the conflict? I mean, the conflict has to be beneficial, right? You're bringing diverse people into a team with different perspectives. Obviously, occasionally there's going to be some, bumping up of heads and ideas and things. So what?
Biases, privileges as designers, but most importantly, their fears of failure, of not delivering on time on the initial design.
What has that got to do with any... Okay. And how did that contribute to the process?
They realized they needed to learn more about the users and how technology might fit within their lives.
You don't say. Okay, you know what? Benevolent condescension. Benevolent condescension. Too many times now, these absolute total duh moments, platitudes, etc. It's just
Bingo.
What? Bingo! Yeah!
Of course, of course.
And we have our second bingo down the diagonal from the B down to the corner of the O. We got 3 minutes left, almost exactly 3 minutes. All right, well, I finally got my active example, sort of. Wasn't a very satisfying one, but it was one, so take it away.
And lived experiences, but also about themselves. Why did they have contrasting perspectives?
Because they're all individual people with individual experiences. That's what you wanted, right? That's what makes up a diverse team. That's why you intentionally put people from different backgrounds together into teams. Why are you asking this now? Why is this a curiosity for you?
They trusted each other. They opened up. They developed psychological safety.
So they became friends. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but did in the course of their project and working together, did they become friends? Or are we going into safe space territory? I mean, the hair is purple.
The empathy they built, the collective empathy within their team led to psychological safety that allowed them to navigate the difficult pivots in their work.
It's called teamwork. You know, I gotta say, there are times in my life where I wish I could reset my brain, right? And experience something for the first time all over again. You know, to have that sensation of discovery, that sensation of revelation or epiphany about something that, you know, prior I just didn't connect the dots. And then all of a sudden I did, and everything else. And that sense of wonder, that sense of exploration and you know, personal growth and development and expanding my mind. I wish I could do that. Our speaker has mastered that ability. I am envious that she has made all of these amazing discoveries for herself that are bedrock common sense for any grown adult living in the world. But admittedly, maybe it's the audience. I don't know who's in the audience. Maybe the audience is made up of a bunch of teenagers or something. It's like, did you know that empathy is a thing? Can we spell empathy?
Psychological safety is not as much about being agreeable or nice with each other. It is about a culture of open communication and trust.
It's called teamwork. Teamwork.
And being able to raise concerns without a fear of reprisal.
Teamwork.
That's not foreign to behavioral scientists.
It's not foreign to anyone with a pulse and an operating brainstem. What? Jesus.
Studies, even of large technology companies, of high-performing teams and well-being show that it doesn't matter as much who's on the team or how meaningful the work was.
Then why were you so focused on making the teams diverse? Why did you bring up your skin color? Why?
What matters is the psychological safety in the team.
Okay, so diversity doesn't mean, I was about to say a bad word. I try to make this a family show. It doesn't mean squat. At least the diversity as you've defined it implicitly with your, I'm white, I'm upper middle class, I might have power. So, have you just completely invalidated your entire presentation? Is this contradicts own point or argument?
our groups developed collective empathy that led to psychological safety, and they were able to build solutions to impact those that they designed for.
Okay. Circling contradicts own point or argument. And leaves out vital context. The conflict led them to this, that, and the other, but she didn't say what it led them to or how. And I'm going to circle benevolent condescension again, just for the heck of it, because once again, I feel completely treated like an intellectual idiot with some of this stuff.
What about you?
What about me? What about me?
How can we turn this magic of
empathy? How can I turn this magic of empathy? What?
How can we turn this magic of empathy, dual role of empathy in technology design, and have diversity crowdsource empathy?
What are you talking? They made a phone tree. They made a Discord server, an email chain. You didn't even show us the platform, right? You didn't even show us a picture of it. You didn't even show us it in action or anything like that. You didn't give us a name of it. So I can only assume, for lack of a better phrase, that they effectively just set up a Discord server and made sure that every homeless shelter in the country had a Discord account. That would effectively serve the same purpose as your quote-unquote platform that you haven't named or specified. Which, again, is just an extension of a very old concept that people have been using since the phone began. And hell, even to go back to correspondence, people sending letters, right? Having a mailing list. It's nothing new. You did not discover this. How am I going to combine the magic of empathy and technology? Well, here's how I combine the magic of empathy and technology, at least in a small way. A way that I do with just about every show. There's this thing. I know it's a thing. I know saying a thing is, could be controversial or suggestive or something. But let me pull up the example here. There's this thing at the top of nearly all my streams, thankfully and most often provided by Kiverdam, for fundraisers, GoFundMe's, etc., for people who are audience members or people associated to audience members who ask for some help in broadcasting someone in need. Okay. This is how I do it. And in one way, it's just, this is one example. I mean, if I have to prove my empathetic nature to someone, I suppose this is one way to do it. All right. And I'm not the only one who does this. Lots of people do these things. In fact, I think it's kind of reflexive for most people that end up using technology in some way or another. You know why that is? Because most people, and I know this is a crazy thought, I know this is weird, most people are people. And most people are not sociopaths. Most people, if they have the opportunity to do someone good for someone else, and technology just happens to be a pathway in which to do that, they might take advantage of that. I don't know if you know, speaking of which, GoFundMe, do you know GoFundMe and Kickstarter and all these other things are technology built with empathy? Can you imagine trying to help out with someone's personal passion project or with their personal needs? Crowdsourcing people's funds and things to help out. So oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Thank you, Keldrig. Is this Chat GPT in a human body? Now that you say it, really does feel like that, doesn't it? It really does feel like this entire presentation was written by Chat GPT. Just a little bit. Stevie J, but can you describe your empathy with a weird string of synonyms? Okay, now you've challenged my English major nature here. Let's see. As I move through the discordant nature of human experience, I find myself feeling alone at times. I find myself introspective about how I live and move through the world, and sometimes I observe other people doing the same. And I think to myself, there, but for the grace of Cthulhu go I. And so what would I want to have happen should I find myself befallen with the tragedy of karmic experience or random chance? What would I want to have happen for myself? And I say to myself, well, self, you should probably do something nice. Because not only is it nice to do something nice, but also fills my soul with gratitude. Gratitude to myself that I'm such a good guy. It feeds my ego to know that I can bestow such benefit upon someone else so lowly as to need my help. Because, man, if you need my help, you must be in trouble. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Thank you, Keeverdam, for the big-hearted dog-cat fox. Oh, dog-cat fox.
Well.
Tailed feature. By the way, Tailed Feature's 8th anniversary on YouTube is soon. All I know is it's sometime in September. Because here's what happened. Here's the empathy I recently experienced. So I made a mental note last year when my YouTube anniversary was upcoming. And I mentioned it to Tailed Feature. And I think I was inviting him to come on the stream to hang out or whatever. And when I said this to him, he was like, oh, dang it, I completely forgot about my own anniversary. It was last month. And even though that conversation took place over a year ago now, you know what? I care about my friends. And I made this little mental note in the back of my head. I didn't think about it again until about, 2 weeks ago. And I thought, oh yeah, October's coming up. October 11th. October 11th is my YouTube anniversary, the date of my first YouTube upload. I better start thinking about that now. If I think about that now, maybe I'll come up with something better than just a random mishmash of stuff as I did last year. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I should remind Tailed that his anniversary is coming up. Because I bet, past his prologue, he's probably forgotten about it. And I said, hey man, just remembered you always forget about your channel anniversary around this time of year. So I thought I'd remind, though I don't know what the exact date is. I know you've lamented forgetting it before when I say mine is coming up. And he said, ha ha, LOL, bless you. So I can only hope that I've, helped out my friend, because I know that my YouTube anniversary is important for me. And I obviously know it's important for him. So there you go. I did that. I did that thing, because human beings, if we didn't have empathy, we never would have made it as a species, let alone a civilization, whichever civilization you're talking about. If you did not have some notion of caring one for another, or being able to see yourself, your circumstances in someone else that you care about, or your neighbor or elsewise, we wouldn't have gotten here. So when someone starts talking to me in very perhaps benevolently condescending terms about the revelation of empathy, I feel a little miffed. I feel a little talked down to. And then hearing someone speak as though they can take credit for the idea when she would not be standing on that stage were it not for empathy. She would not be broadcast on the internet were it not for the intersection of empathy and technology. And a phone tree. She's taking credit on her students' behalf for a glorified phone tree. It's just something else.
If empathy is a crucial part of high-performing teams.
It always has been. There's no if about it.
And it comes from understanding one another.
Or at least understanding a common bond among the team. Doesn't necessarily make everybody friends, but puts them all on the same side to achieve a goal. Yes, it's called teamwork, not necessarily team love.
I have 3 ideas to share with you.
3 ideas? That's a list. Oh boy, circling a list. All right, give me 3 ideas. You've got less than 2 minutes.
First, we need to rethink the way we work and use empathy as our design tool, not just for our technologies, but for our designing teams as well.
Why didn't you spend the entire talk doing this? You're not going to give us any meaningful details as to how this would work now with only a minute left. This should have been your entire talk. I started this program with my students called Inspire, and we did this, this, and this. And from this, I derived 3 ideas for da-da-da-da-da, and that should have been the second and third halves of your talk. Oh, well, missed opportunity.
Well.
Uh-huh.
Number 2, shift from a culture of performance at all costs to a culture of learning of the users and designers as humans alike.
Gosh, what an innovative idea. Anybody ever watch Mad Men? Anybody ever listen to any of the sales pitches from Don Draper in Mad Men? Those beautifully written pitches, the sheer poetry that came out of that character's mouth when he was trying to convince somebody of something. In specific, look up the one on Carousel. Just go to YouTube, look up Don Draper or Mad Men, best sales pitch or Carousel. Just watch that. And tell me, is using empathy to solve for someone's problem or to influence them towards a solution something that our speaker just suddenly came up with?
And 3, engage empathetic leadership.
Oh.
One that models open communication, free of blaming and judging, and models vulnerability in teams, because that's what allows them to develop psychological safety.
What was the point of this? Is she really proud of herself for this?
And embrace the power of diversity.
Yeah, the diversity.
In fact, in concluding, I have one more thought to share with you.
Oh, I can't wait. Is it, let's see. Never shun someone different than you because you may be missing out on the opportunity to learn and increase your empathy?
When I had the idea for this talk, I wanted to inspire everyone to cherish and embrace diversity.
Yeah. And you failed. Because did you just tell us a minute ago that the main chief component to a successful team didn't have anything to do with diversity, but psychological safety?
From my observations of technology design teams. But I am who I am because I was different and yet empowered when transcending cultures and countries. Why should my message then limit itself to technology teams?
It's almost like teamwork as a concept is a universal concept. Gosh, why should I limit my amazing discoveries about teamwork and leadership to just teams that deal with technology? Boy, imagine if we took this idea and it applied it to things like, oh, I don't know, athletics or the military.
If there's one thing we all share is how diverse we are. And yes, we do have different ways to communicate and work, but empathy can make all our interactions a wonderful place. Let's consider empathy as our best social app.
Oh, Lord, come on.
One of which upgrade.
Oh, yeah, I keep increasing my empathy over time. It's almost like I'm a role-playing character and I'm spending my XP on the empathy score.
Automatic upgrade is constant use and introspection.
Sure.
I believe in a kinder world.
I'm glad that you do.
I believe in us. Let's use it together.
Good gravy. Okay, well, there you go. That's empathy as technology, and it all evolves into a phone tree. I'm not kidding. The only active example that she gave us from her theory and her method and everything else was a glorified phone tree. Anyway, this is the card as I have it right now. I'm going to go over it one more time for any other squares that seem to pop out at me. If you have any arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them. Remember, this is bingo card B. Links are in the description. Feminism. No. He never really brought up, any kind of war of the sexes or anything, as far as I can tell. Weightless example, non sequitur. Okay, so hold on. The homeless, okay, bad eyesight and shaking hands and solving for, she didn't solve for homelessness. She didn't solve for bad eyesight. She didn't solve for, in fact, no, that's all useless. That was making more efficient homeless shelters. That wasn't solving for homelessness. Also, all the things she brought up about like conflict in teams, like, okay, well, how did that help or hinder the development of this, homeless shelter platform? How? In what way? Anyway, plays victim. Okay, I gotta say, coming from Romania at the period of time that she had to have come from Romania, she wasn't playing a victim there. That is not a fun place to be. Not a fun place to be under communism. So I can't say she's playing victim there. And I already circled self-vilification or wretchedness for her whole power thing. So I'm not sure about playing victim. In that one, and she comes to another country, she has language barriers. All these things are completely understandable. That doesn't sound like someone playing the victim to me. That sounds like someone just like relaying a completely reasonable experience. Because, I might be expressing empathy. Collectivize his own demographic. Yes, I'm white, I'm middle class. Why should I be up here talking about diversity and so on and so forth? Yeah, just a smidge. I'm going to go with that one. Let's see. Deceptive statistics. She didn't actually give us any statistics. This could be the Achilles heel for many a bingo card blackout in the future. If there's no statistics at all, what do you do? Well, I guess the same could be said for, white or privilege or patriarchy or anything else. So that's fine. Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Was there any, she said collective empathy. She said at one point, but she didn't like restate it. So I didn't really feel like that was, yeah. Well, no, she ended off with make empathy our best social app or whatever, or social media. Yeah, she really wanted to hammer that one home. I'll circle that one. I'll circle that one. And as always, if I circle a square and you have an argument against that square being circled, that's also a legitimate thing to put in the chat. Patriarchy. No, she didn't really dwell on gender roles or the war of the genders or anything like that, or like said something about overbearing men or anything. Anecdote that probably never happened. The only thing I can think of that was questionable to me was the whole, there were no apps about tracking menstruation cycles until women were involved. And that's the only one where I'm kind of like, is that really true? And I honestly don't know. I mean, maybe it's the case that the very first time that such a thing was added to an app, a medical thing or other else, it was only after they put a woman on the team. I don't know if that's true. White supremacy. No, and I know that because she brought up being white earlier, but she didn't really dwell on that, and she didn't. Strangely enough, throughout the course of the thing, she only brought up race that one time, despite the fact she was talking about diversity. But of course, bringing up the fact that she was white, and who is she to be talking about diversity, told me that it was all about race at the end of the day. But she didn't actually say much more about it, so I can't. Systemic or institutional? if we're circling that one, it's going to have to be an argument, and I'm going to leave that to you guys. Sales pitch for product or service. Well, she did put up the web page for her Inspire STEM, da-da-da-da-da-da. So she was advertising, and she did say the word inspire and so on several times. So there was a sales pitch there. All right, so that is the card. Let me, did I update it? Yes, I did. Okay, so that's the card as I have it. There's only a few squares left. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, put them in the chat now, and I will take them on. If I miss your argument, just please repaste it. Start here. T. Alexander, you were telling that fertility apps were not invented till then, really, with all the people trying to get knocked up all over the planet X to doubt. Again, it sounds like a old wives' tale, no pun intended. Like, no one thought to create an app to track menstrual cycles until women got on board. I mean, like, there were no male gynecologists that were consulted when it came to creating apps that thought, hey, gee, we should put something like that. And that doesn't ring true to me. That just doesn't seem like it's, yeah. You're ridiculous lunatic. Pathological empathy. There, I made my own buzz phrase. Yeah, it's true. I think pathological empathy or toxic empathy or something else has been the subject of a TEDx somewhere before. Again, my old rule, just put radical or toxic in front of a term that is otherwise a general good, and you have yourself a TEDx talk topic. Let's see. Abacus Diaboli, sales pitch that STEM is whatever the thing she should. Yes, yeah, the Inspire website page or whatever. Let's see. Advocacy. The irony is women have been deleting period tracking apps because of privacy concerns, apparently. Oh, really? I did not know that. Pecoraro. Tech doesn't understand us. We make tech understandable. You see, when I first saw this title, I thought it was going to be something like, because if you go on to TEDx right now, you can't go through 2 or 3 videos on a line without 7 of them being about AI. Everybody's got this new theory about AI, how to use AI, what should AI do? This. I thought for sure this was going to be something like, how can we put empathy into AI? Right? I thought it was going to be something like that, especially when she started off talking about the chat bots and all that. I was sure we were going down the route of how do we put empathy. Actually, the whole chat bot thing. Hold on. That could have fit into a bunch of other squares too. She brings up the chat bots but never comes back to it. Like, don't you get annoyed when you have to deal with that window that pops up and does that? It's all has nothing to do with anything. Just nothing. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Stevie J, the psychological safety thing sounded like an attempt to create a phrase. That's true too. Yeah, she said that a lot, but yeah, we got at least at the very end with the whole, like, let's make empathy the new social app or the new great social app or whatever. Zan Wild, health apps didn't track menstrual cycles until women designers. Patriarchy. Oh, Zan! Oh, that's great. I hadn't thought. That's great. You're right. Oh, Zan, good job. That was a great way to come at it. Good job, Zan. I like it. Oh, that could legitimately count for both, couldn't it? That could wait, Advocates, did you say it earlier? Oh, wait. Oh, you said it. Oh, you guys put it like at the same time. Okay. Well, okay. So shared congratulations. You guys put up like that's a spontaneous generation, the both of you. That could also count as feminism. Yeah, I know. Yeah, tears. Yeah, that could straddle both. No pun intended, but I'll take it. And you know what? Given the hair, if nothing else, the hair and the whole menstrual app thing, I think that counts. I think that makes sense. To me, it's part of the presentation, and thus...
Wowie, wow, wow.
That's not what I meant to click, actually. I mean, sure, Dogcat Fox is very excited about that, aren't you? Wowie, wow, wow. Yeah, so he's very excited that happened too. But what I meant to click was something like this.
Bingo.
Of course!
Okay. All right. Good job, Zan. And good job, Advocatus. Secondary congratulations. And yes, Tyr Alexander. Yeah, there's also feminism. All right. All right. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 squares left. The statistics one, I don't think applies. Plays victim. Again, her personal story was nothing I would say was faking it or posing as a victim in that regard. And beyond that, she didn't really dwell much on her personal experiences. And they were all completely explicable. White supremacy, not so much. Systemic institutional, maybe? I don't know. Faithless, Scribelight, she did play to be a victim of her own privilege in that one moment. Oh, well... See, now, okay, so 1, this is a square that would lead to 3 different bingos. And we already used her looking up at the sky and everything as self-vilification or wretchedness. Plays victim. Again, in that moment, she may have been vilifying herself for the power and privilege that she obviously has because of what she is. But was she playing a victim of it? Because if she was expressing guilt over it, that's not victimization. That's not being a victim. It's a cross she has to bear. I don't see it like that. That's not what I took away from that. And I understand it is completely subjective. It was a look. It was a gesture. But putting that up against everything else that she said about her personal backstory and everything else, that didn't feel like playing victim. Right? That felt more like putting up her actual experience with what someone might assume of her thoughts about herself or her position. Right? Not a cross to bear, but sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm searching for a word here. Well, like a false accusation. Right? Like someone looks at her and says, oh, because you're white and upper middle class now, then you've got power. And then she's thinking back to a time when none of that effectively meant anything, and she actually came from a place of no power. So but I still don't see that as playing victim because it comes from a legitimate personal history that is explicable. Does that make sense? Advocast, anecdote that never happened. No one ever thought a phone app for homeless people was a good idea. Actually, you know what? Now that you say that, nearly everything she brought up as some kind of revelation, like it was the first time anybody ever thought of these things. The whole you know what? This entire thing, elements of this entire thing were anecdotes that never happened, as in they were the first time, that these were some kind of discoveries. These were some kind of revelations that had never occurred to anyone before. I know I'm a little bit double dipping on benevolent condescension, but at the same time, it's like I went, duh, how many times in this thing? Or can you believe that this is actually, yeah. Anyway, that's the long way of saying bingo. I said bingo. I pushed the button. Bingo. Play the thing. Won't
somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay.
Right?
Was that really delayed for everyone else too? Because I pushed the button and nothing happened. All right. Anyway. Yeah, the plays victim one is a really steep hill to climb, both for its position as a triple bingo square, and I just don't see it. No statistics, white supremacy wasn't really in there, systemic institutional. There might be an argument for that, but I'm not quite sure. Isn't white privilege also white supremacy? No, I'm not going to split that hair. Not going to split that hair right now. Let's see. All right, Tyr Alexander plays victim by proxy. She is Romanian, bringing up that given the history of the region, she is playing victim, and she references white supremacy as well because she's. You could say white privilege. I didn't. There wasn't any. She did not dwell enough on race in this for me to say that white supremacy was an element of her presentation. I just can't quite get there. She needed to say something else more definitive than just bringing up, because saying that she's white, and who am I to talk about diversity, in given the white privilege thing, is not the same as using white supremacy. I know. Might be difficult, but I'm just saying. Did you not see my previous message? Well, did I read your previous message? Because if I didn't, then I didn't. So if there's something else, please repost. Let's see. Daryl Dell would have settled for another wowie wow if bingo didn't work. Well, either way. And Payardy Bayar, don't know what he agrees with, but Payardy Bayar agrees. I appreciate that. I like agreement. I don't like discord in my conversations. All right. So I think we might have reached the end. Stevie J, will you do another TED Talk in this stream? No. Unless there's a very specific set of circumstances, like a TED Talk goes really quick or feels completely unsatisfying or something. I don't usually do more than one unless something comes up. Plus the fact that I have to be up very early tomorrow for work, and tomorrow morning I have to get work done real quick, which I won't be able to get done. So I have to actually hand part off to somebody else because I'm going on a trip with my sister to visit the parents. And so I have to go relatively soon in order to sleep for all of that because it's going to be a very busy day tomorrow. Yeah, sometimes I do on a rare occasion, but okay. Plays victim, the difficulty it took to learn English like it isn't hard for everyone. But she was talking about having to learn English and her personal communication barriers. I don't think she was downplaying it for anyone else. I don't think she was playing the victim. She was just saying that she had a difficult time in crossing that sort of communicative bridge when she came over. Because by the time she came over to Canada, she was already a teenager, right? In college or something. So she had never really had to learn English. I get where you're going, but her personal biography to me does not ring hollow. Let me put it that way. Nothing about her personal biography rings hollow. I didn't get a sense that she was propping herself up as a victim. Now, pandering to white privilege, sure, but playing a victim, I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. Okay, one more attempt. The difficulty of moving and learning a language and no one ever asking her opinion until 17 was playing a victim. Well, no one ever asking her opinion in a team environment. She put that very specific qualification on there. I can't leave that out. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's so thin. And again, this is a 3 bingo square. It's got to be something more solid than that. It's got to be something more solid than that. I just don't. Shouldn't have learned to speak English as the third most spoken language, and she would have had to know the base. I can't without information. Otherwise, I don't have any reason to doubt that she had a difficult time making the transition between countries and cultures and language barriers. I experienced that at least observationally with coworkers of mine that came from different countries. You know, everybody tells me that Spanish is such an easy language to learn. I'm no good at it. I get it. I get where you're going. She had woe is me hinted at throughout. There needed to be something more explicit in the talk. And it's in my mind, it didn't quite rise to the threshold. And it's not like I'm not looking for this. It's not like, you guys think I might be just being, a party pooper for the sake of being a party pooper. No, I want to see more bingos. I want to achieve that blackout on the card kind of thing. I get disappointed when we have a square that just can't be overcome, like deceptive statistics or something. But at the same time, though, either it's there in the talk or it isn't. Either it can be reasonably derived or it can't. Maybe there's another argument. Maybe there's something she said that we all just forgot about. I don't know, but I just the only opportunity that I saw that she had to play a victim was in talking about her own specific personal experiences. That's when the plays victim thing comes up. It has to be something that they say that goes into decidedly woe is me territory. And with what little she gave us about her background and backstory, all of it sounded reasonable. It sounded like reasonable hardships that she overcame to be where she is now. So I didn't see that as playing victim. I didn't see that as her saying, oh, because of this, I've been held back and I was discouraged by people and I had people being mean to me because of my... No, she ended up in Canada. Canada is filled with polite people. They all helped her out. So I'm just not quite there. Not quite there. Zan Wild says, is hammering diverse teams a wink and nod to whites? We have diversity, equity, and inclusion as its own square for that reason. White supremacy is something very specific, and when you know it, it's there, and it just... Okay, I'm going to call it here. I know it's controversial. I am still open to taking arguments for squares to be circled after the show is closed. So if somebody comes up with something that pushes me over the edge, or comes up with an example within the talk that is undeniable, or a backwards compatible one like Zan Wild did with the menstruation thing, okay, I'm open to creative arguments, as you know. But at this point, I do need to wrap things up, and I think we've reached an impasse overall. Now, if you'd like to further discuss this TEDx and make arguments to me directly, you can always go to the Discord server. Did you know I have a Discord server? It could also act as a phone tree for homeless shelters. Anyway, I don't know why I'm bringing that up. If you click on that link in the chat right now, you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you actually watched the stream, are not a bot or a empathetic piece of technology, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, and the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is... psychological safety. And you have to put all of that in front of it too. That's all one secret phrase. Psychological safety. I'll really know you watched the stream if you do that. Elsewise, some programming notes. You can find me here most Thursdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for another TED Excellence. Sunday, the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays, because Sunday's the day to stream on Sundays. The Sunday stream is at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on Sundays, where now the format is I'll go over some interesting stories that came out throughout the week and see what's going on in the world. Also, you can usually find me Tuesdays on the Midnight's Edge After Dark channel at 4 p.m. Pacific. That's right, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern for, the Tuesday stream, where we talk about movies and sci-fi and pop culture and all types of crazy stuff going on and nerd out on things. That's always fun too. And once in a while, I might do an ambush stream. I'm also hoping, fingers crossed, knock for Micah, that I may be on a stream on the 10th covering the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I am looking forward to it like nothing else. Maybe I can finagle to be on Sinatra's stream and we can talk about that, because I always have fun talking politics with Sinatra. So we'll see about that come the 10th, which I think is next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the GoFundMes and fundraisers pinned to the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it, because I'm a YouTuber, this is what I have to do, if on your way out you would leave a like. And if you're watching this in the future, leave a like and a comment. And if you're watching this at any other time, leave a like, a comment, and share the stream, so people that don't know about me can know about me, because I like people, because I'm empathetic, you see. I just discovered that today. It was our speaker that brought me into the fold on the concept of empathy. But before today, I just the idea of teamwork and listening to one another and solving problems by communicating effectively. Boy, oh boy, I'm so glad I watched this TEDx talk. Anyway, everyone, again, thank you for joining me. I hope you all have a good rest of your Thursday. I hope you all have a good rest of your Friday upcoming, weekend ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.